Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where we are. Myself, Dr. Sujit Kumar, Professor of Rural Development and Management in the Department of Lifelong Learning and Extension, Vishwabharati, a Central University, Shantiniketan, West Bengal, India, is pleased to join the international conference on visualizing global education policy for total consciousness, organized by Global Energy Parliament. In this great event, I am going to discuss the topic on the educational institutions in achieving social responsibility. As we all know that education is one of the essential necessities of humankind. It is because of his education a human being is able to discriminate between right and wrong, between good and bad, and between useful and harmful. Education, from the very beginning, has been considered to be of vital importance both for development of individual as well as effective functioning of society. Education awakens knowledge and develops analytical capacity to understand the different situations that people come across and to adjust according to their requirements. Education is indeed a good skill to have. The main value which education has prompted is ambitious, a desire to go ahead of others, to outshine others. Connecting people to jobs is not the only function of education. Education is mainly that which connects people to higher values, which transcend people, liberates them, which turns people into candles where the flame is forever trying to spread light. The significance of the role of education in the development had been part of the development discourse from its very inception. More recently, basic education for children, youth, and adults has come to be central to the efforts dedicated to sustainable development. It has come to be well understood that education for all is necessary concomitant of participative democratic politics, for participation in the economy, for adoption and use of technology in the process of modernization, and for renewing and enjoying cultures. Education for sustainable development will have to be generously resourced to be able to serve the need of children and youth by formal schooling and the needs of adult men and women, offering them non-formal education in out-of-school setting. The process of education goes on throughout life, and the educational institutions play a vital role on it. Now, let me discuss about the role of educational institutions in society. Any institution that exists in society continues to command social recognition as long as it remains useful for society. In fact, the very existence as also the continuance of all social institutions depends upon their functional utility, especially in the area of their operation for the social system in which they exist. An educational institution concerned with generation and dissemination of knowledge in contemporary society has to be socially relevant and useful, for which it is necessary that it must direct all its pursuits in such a manner that its end product may promote the multifaceted but integrated development of society in which it exists, to enable its members to live a healthy and happy life. Traditionally, the higher educational institutions in India were concerned with teaching and research only. The widely accepted function of the educational institute is communication of existing knowledge and extension of the frontiers of knowledge through research and creative activity. The higher educational institutes have to reach out to the community, and hence new models and varying alternatives have to be evolved with stress on flexibility, diversification, evolving newer technologies, and widening of horizons. You know, actually, the educational institutes should provide for a multi-level training system which will be able to meet the country's needs more effectively and enable a greater number of people to continue to use and develop their skills at different periods of their lives. Being an active agent of social change, the educational institutes have continuously to satisfy the needs of modern society, find out whether the education system is capable of meeting these needs, and then accordingly plan the future strategy. When asked, I quote, what will be the ideals of Indian education once the country become independent? Gandhiji responded by saying, I quote, character formation should be the basic ideals of education. Once the country became independent, we would think of an education system that would inculcate a sense of courage and strength and many others desirable qualities so that people are motivated to dump pettiness under the force of their search for high ideals. Unquote. On the other hand, education, according to the great Indian poet and philosopher Rabindranath Tagore, is the all-round growth and development of the individual in harmony with the universal, the supreme person who has in himself the various levels or planes of consciousness and experience corresponding to man's physical self, life, mind, and soul. The aim of education for Tagore is to realize the complete man, the eternal man, and the universal man in one's being. Tagore was unsatisfied with the popular method of education, which according to him is no useful for practical purpose and which cannot properly educate man to be a universal man. Tagore emphasizes that man is essentially a social being, and hence his ideal of education should be how to be a useful member of society, to be a good citizen of the country. He believes that man is at the same time social, political, and spiritual, and hence his education aims at development of all aspects of man's personality. For proper education, he gives much stress on the surrounding atmosphere. He believes that an educational center should aim at providing children with opportunities for realizing that they live in a neighborly world with diverse kinds of people. Now, it is well known that the impact of globalization has placed new demands on the education system. Transformation with rapid change is taking place everywhere. The student and youth have to be prepared by the educational institutes to adopt change and learn new skills in accordance with the new demands of the world of work. In other words, the system of education has to prepare the student to be a lifelong learner. Then only will the student be able to sustain his knowledge and skills at an international benchmark level. While higher educational institutes have to enhance students' employability skill through a formal system, on the other hand, the non-formal stream of education is being developed by the Ministry of Human Resource Development for reaching education to the unreached. There is a rapid growth of the National Institute of Open Schooling and state open schools and improvisation of quality teaching through the development of a momentum in Sarvashikha Abhijan under the Education for All program and also under Right to Education. Unnat Bharat Abhijan is a very good initiative which was initiated by the Ministry of Higher Education in collaboration with some other ministries of the Government of India is a best example. Through this initiative, every higher educational institution has to adopt at least 5 villages for the holistic development of the country. The students and teachers of the institution have to visit those areas, get acquainted with them, and do some work for their betterment and for their livelihood development. Universities also have to integrate formal and non-formal education by opening their doors to adult learners for lifelong learning programs by making the university an adult learner friendly institutions. To conclude, I want to mention that it has been widely recognized that the education shapes the life of a person and exposes the lifestyle and occupation depending upon the level of education. Values are the outcome of education one receives from the family, social environment, and the educational institutions. The educational institutions can change the attitudes and behavior of the people to a great extent, which will empower them to think positively and contribute meaningfully to self and the society at large. Our educational institutes are the integral parts of our national life. This is the time for our educational institutes to reshape their courses of study. Emphasis should be given on our indigenous languages, our literatures, our history, and our ancient culture, and also to participate both the students and teachers in the extension and field outreach activity and apply the learning for the betterment of the society. With this, I thank you all and thank you very much. Namaskar.